the call. But I think we should start to honor everybody. And on behalf of EFESO, and I would say also Huhtamaki in this place, we would like to warmly welcome you to this afternoon session. We are Friday afternoon, and we will be completely thrilled and excited to share the journey of André de Oliveira. Very welcome, André, into our session here today, where we will listen to a very most exciting story of how you can launch and successfully deploy a TPM program in the middle of everything that we are living today in our pandemia world at this moment. I can promise you there will be some very, very interesting insights, and also from a personal perspective of André, that I think is maybe the most interesting. And we will also, I'm also very happy to have with us today Carlo Baroncelli. I would like to, for those of you who don't know Carlo, I mean, there are probably not so many, but Carlo is one of our founders and also one of our gurus in WCOM, so has been also instrumental, of course, in this. And we will hear some words from Carlo as well. And I would just like some practicalities now as we start. I would like you to please go in and mute all your mics. We are running this through Teams, so the remote capability is not always perfect. So I would please urge everybody to try to keep a little bit of discipline also. We will have a weekend afterwards, so just try to stay calm for another 1 hour. I would also like to invite you to use the chat function for questions along the way, and then we will eventually have a Q&A at the end, and we will also then maybe pick up some questions along the way, but we'd prefer to do it at the end, not to disrupt the presentation, if that's okay. I suggest we do not use our cameras apart from the people who are speaking, so that we keep our focus on the story. And I would also like to, as an information, say that we are recording this session, so you will also be able to go back to it or share it with other people if you want. So once again, on behalf of EFESO and Huhtamaki, I can see many people are joining now. I would like to warmly welcome you to this session this afternoon. My name is Tobias, and when I'm not doing this, I'm also a consultant with EFESO in the Nordic countries, where I'm the managing director, and I'm also deeply involved together with Carlo to support our clients worldwide in the forest and packaging industry and to make them succeed. I suggest we start. Please, if we can go ahead. I think Natalie is managing the slides. We will have 2 short pieces today. First, a few minutes of introduction, and then we'll go straight into the story from André. And then we'll finish off with a few minutes of Q&A at the end. Please, the next one, Natalie. So just a word, I would assume some of you are familiar with EFESO, but just to say who we are and why we're here hosting this session today. Well, EFESO is a consulting firm that has been around for over 40 years, and we are present worldwide, supporting our clients on their mission to success. And we are present in over 30 countries with physical offices, and we work across all continents and all countries with the deployment of larger consulting programs. Next slide, please. This slide, I wanted to add it. It's a small step for mankind. I'm aware of that, but for us, it's been a very important small piece. We have been for long climbing up the ladder of, let's say, the consulting ranking in the world, and we're very happy to say, and proud also to say, that we are now ranked on the top 3 list in the ALM Vanguard report. And what I think is even more interesting and more important, at least from our point of view, is the fact at the bottom right, where we are ranked world leader on the management systems for operational consulting, in particular in manufacturing, which is the providing the lasting impact which we all strive for to create a robust operation. Please, next slide, Natalie. And I would like to say one word also about our presence in the forest and packaging industry. We are extremely proud to support very many of the world leading companies in this industry, all the way through the entire value chain. So spanning basically from the root of the tree, the fiber, for that part of it, and all the way down through to the downstream application and innovation. We're supporting all types of materials, from wooden fiber all the way through to plastics, glass, and also metal where needed. And I would say that this industry is now standing in a very, very interesting position for the years to come. It's not only for its own sake, but also because this industry touches upon so many other, let's say, circular flows in our industrial life, from in FMCG, in food, not at least, as we will hear a lot from André, but also all other sectors. So the responsibility of this industry is much bigger and reaching further out than just for its own sake. Let's put it this way. And we're extremely happy to be part of that journey in the next coming years. With this, I would like to hand over to Carlo to say a few words to introduce also the topic of today, the story from André, which will be our scene here as and what hair shall I miss, gossip shall strive to mend, as Shakespeare would have said. So please, Carlo.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. I mean, we, as you saw from Tobias, we are present in several packaging companies in the world. We have long history in packaging, and we, from our perspective, we have seen that obviously the packaging industry is growing because of several forces. And then is facing three major challenges. One is less impact in the ecosystem, especially for the plastic, the film. Less cost in relation to the contained goods that need to be more available to everybody. And then the relation between the packaging and the contained goods is growing because, I mean, families are getting smaller, so the portions are getting smaller. And access to low-cost countries to packaged goods that so far have not been so the food has not been protected correctly. TPM is probably, I suppose everybody knows what is TPM, Total Productive Management, as methodology that has been developed several years ago, but then it has been spreading in the world, especially in fast-moving consumer goods. Is a perfect match to these challenges because is a total war to losses. From one side is material waste, improving the use of material, improving the use of energy with better use of OE, and also capacity with again better use of OE and better, let's say, less capital applied to what is needed to grow and to serve more markets. Next, please. Then we are, as consulting, we are alive and kicking. Luckily, we were scared 1 year ago because of whether the entire industry would have been surviving, because our motto was "Go to Gemba." We were very much convinced of the need, and still in part we are, of the essential need of being at Gemba, so visiting the sites. But then in the last year this has not been possible, so we had very big challenges in project management and governance of our projects, while the training, the execution, and the audit and follow-up. So in all the steps, this is not really possible. Okay, so I will give the message now to André, that will explain how to overcome all these difficulties.
Hello everyone, good afternoon, good morning for those in the west, good night or evening for those in the east. Very nice to be here with you and to share a little bit of what we've been doing in Huhtamaki in the past months. I think that the very justified question that you may ask yourself is, are we mad to start TPM in a pandemic year? I am convinced we are not, and I will try in the coming minutes to share with you a little bit this experience and the reasons why I believe that independently of where we are and which moments we live, there is always time for TPM. Next, please. A quick introduction about myself. I'm a very simple man. I think I can be summarized in 2 photos. I am Brazilian. Soccer is my passion. I've never managed to the levels of this national team of '82. The Italians will remember well what happened that year. But still, soccer is pretty much something that I loved playing and love to watch today. I am married to Anna and proud father of Daniel and Victor. And currently we live in the beautiful Amsterdam. After living in many countries, in many places, I worked really since 2020, since year 2000, in many different countries in the world. My career started almost 30 years ago in Pirelli tires in Brazil, where I got my first introduction to TPM. I need to thank EFESO, and it will always be a remark in my career that I was taught by EFESO at Pirelli factories at that time, and we've been partnering along the way on the different steps I had in Tetra Pak, another packaging material company, and Ecolab, a chemical company, more recently. So I joined Huhtamaki 15 months ago, and I would like to, for those who don't know, let you know a little bit about Huhtamaki, what we do and where we are present. So next, please. One more. Good. So Huhtamaki is a global player in food on the go and food on the shelf packaging solutions. We are serving customers through different channels, meaning QSR, food delivery, retail, FMCG, and our products offer convenience, they offer food safety, food availability, which are all very important attributes for the modern consumers. The portfolio is based on 3 main technologies, which are food service packaging, molded fiber packaging, and also flexible packaging. Next, please. With net sales of 3.3 billion euros in 2020, we are a truly global company with a solid Nordic heritage. Our presence is reaching consumers across the globe, from the West Coast on the US up to New Zealand. The company has delivered strong growth in recent years, building strong foundations for the future. Today, Huhtamaki is present in 36 countries. We have around 80 manufacturing units, and we employ over 18,000 employees, which are our biggest asset. This is a result of 100 years of history, celebrated last year. And I don't need to tell you what year was 2020. It was indeed very, very special. Next, please. I will, for sure, try to spare you from all the statements on how 2020 was a disruptive year due to COVID. I believe that we all felt that on our skin. But for the packaging industry, this was not the only disruption. Especially in EU, but not only, sustainability legislation has changed gears, has become tougher. Well-established consumption patterns from consumers have changed. All these factors together created disruption, but also created opportunities. As Winston Churchill once said, there is never a good time to waste a good crisis. So, in line with Huhtamaki's purpose to protect food, people, and the planet, the 2030 strategy was rolled out. We used all the external challenges to propose a transformational agenda that will enable the company to seize opportunities and come out stronger in the post-COVID times. Next, please. We believe in protecting food, people, and the planet. This is our vision, brought to us here by our president and CEO, Charles Robet. As the leader of Huhtamaki, Charles drives this transformational agenda and demonstrates an unconditional support to TPM. As we all know, TPM without top management support is faded to failure. Next, please. So, why to start TPM? Why one can argue that Huhtamaki's 2030 strategy may lack of originality. I can highlight for you a few very meaningful points on it. Number one, the vision to protect food, people, and the planet is in absolute alignment with the role of responsible packaging material companies. The ambition to be the first choice in sustainable packaging sets the bar very high. And it's not hard to make very concrete connections between TPM and the four main strategic directions. Next, please. The immediate connection when we talk continuous improvement is cost reduction. We can indeed drive competitiveness by becoming more efficient and reducing costs, but this would be a little bit too restrictive. TPM also enables growth by allowing freed up money to be reinvested in the company, driving innovation, for example. Differently than many people still think, TPM is not about improving machines. TPM is about developing people, especially those people in the shop floor, so they can take care and improve the machines and the processes of the company. And before talking about recycling or reusing material waste, TPM talks about avoiding it. Clearly, a strong link with the sustainability agenda. So, why to start TPM? Because it strongly supports the main strategic directions of the company for the years to come and supports the creation of a differentiated manufacturing culture where loss eradication is truly an everyday obsession. Next, please. TPM also has a very strong and direct connection with Huhtamaki values of care, dare, and deliver. We care about our people. TPM develops and inspires people, so they motivate themselves to walk the extra miles for excellence. If you can click please the photo on care, thank you very much. I would like to introduce you to Samit. He became the TPM manager in our Dubai plant after being black belt for a few years. He is one of the 555 people that received basic training on TPM in the past year. You can see, and probably not so well, his photo in the bottom corner of the screen. A personal skill matrix was developed for him, including methodological and leadership skills. In case of shop floor people, we also include operational skills. By exposing competence and knowledge gaps, we can address them in a very controlled and planned way, allowing people to perform at their best. It becomes clear for them what type of experiences they need to develop to be ready for their future jobs, putting employees in control not only of their skills, but also of their careers. With this transparent and structured approach, we can take care and develop our people. So if you go back, please. We dare to target loss eradication. Actually, we need to support people to believe losses are not normal and can be avoided. Who doesn't know that operator that has lived with kilos and kilos of waste for his entire life, and he believes that is just the normal thing. And by eradicating losses systematically, we will deliver unprecedented results. TPM really changed the way we do business. And if you can click on the second page there, please. Not working.
It seems like we have a break of the link here for some reason, Andre.
Okay, so go to slide.
If there's an issue.
Go to slide 22, please. 22.
I think you have to step out of the presentation, Natalie, and go to slide 22 directly.
Okay. Of course, it's wrong because now we have all the other slides. So I don't know which slide it would be anymore. Go down. Yes, this one.
Perfect.
So
thank you, Natalie.
We manage it. So if you remember a summit, the guy I just presented. Well, this is the result of the team he led as part of a certification of his training. He worked in a chronicle loss in his plant, misregistration printing waste. In 20 weeks, they reduced 89% the amount of this defect, generating almost 60,000 euros of savings. That was the plan. This may sound small, but when this is done hundreds of times in hundreds of problems across the globe for many years, we start talking big money. But in my opinion, this is not the highlight of the team. The highlight of the team is the demonstration that a problem, even a chronicle one, can be eradicated. By the way, a quick update on this team from first quarter of this year. This team has achieved less than one problem per month, bringing the real savings up to 80,000 euros. They are dealing with the anomalies, and they personally promised me that they will reach zero, because now they believe it's possible. So now, Natalie, we have to go back to where we were. So let's see if we can make that. Good, thank you. That's good. And why to start TPM now? Why to do it in the middle of the craziest year ever? Maybe the best answer to this question is another question. Why not? There will always be great reasons to postpone changes. Huhtamaki decided that this was so important to us and too relevant for the business to be postponed. So we used the disruptions to learn how to do TPM without one of the most important things for those who practiced it for more than 25 years, which is the physical presence. So basically 2020 was a great year of learning. We really needed to relearn how to implement TPM under extraordinary conditions. And I think that we were up to the challenge. Next. To understand our starting point, we need a few words to explain the past. Huhtamaki had a very good foundation of continuous improvement based on Lean Six Sigma tools. What we needed to do was to cover a few important gaps, like the operator-centric approach, like the maintenance loops for holding the gains. And we needed to change from a few improvements generated by a few people to many smaller improvements generated by every single employee. This is our main goal and main challenge today. Next. To get things started, we have chosen, I believe, a non-standard approach. Instead of having the usual pilot plants, we decided for two different roles. The lighthouses, that would be the real trailblazers for TPM, and the satellites that would learn, copy and paste from the lighthouses and continue to approach TPM at their own pace, having a head start when they would become lighthouses. This was also, but not only, driven by the fact that our access to the factories would be limited. We wanted to make sure that the geographical and technological proximity of satellites to the lighthouses would somehow enable synergies and would accelerate the deployment of TPM, while of course keeping consultancy costs at an affordable level. So from March 2020, we started 7 lighthouses and 14 satellites across the globe, from North America down to Thailand. Our ambition is to cover all manufacturing sites by 2023. How did we do it? And how did we overcome the obstacles? Let's talk about the main ones from now. Next, please. Before we start a new initiative, training to the sites starting the journey is a must. In the normal way, we would deploy consultants with ready-to-train training materials, consolidated and proven along the past years, and the task would be basically accomplished. This time, this was not possible. Training materials and methods designed for presential training needed to be adapted for a new reality. Together with the consultants, we had pretty much redesigned everything. It was interesting process. It was very interesting to learn how to do this, since this was new also for the consultants. Usually the consultants tell you what can be done and what's the best way. In this case, we need to learn together. Our objective was to maximize in the training process the time in virtual conferences and allow the maximum possible time for self-learning. So we designed this training process in 3 steps. Theory would be grouped into modules where we would combine presentations with webcasts. Webcast is nothing more than videos of a teacher explaining the slides embedded in the material, in the training material. So trainees would go through the modules at their convenience in the given time frame, of course, and they would answer tests and quizzes. Once successful in these tests, they would pass to the second step. The second step is the closest we get to presential training. That's the moment where a group of trainees meet virtually with the teacher of the module to discuss specific aspects and to get their questions answered. The last step was the real project, where the learnings would have to be demonstrated. Projects last 12 to 20 weeks and were virtually coached in 4 toll gates. This is just amazing. Imagine a team of people executing something new that they learned remotely with only 4 checkpoints and coaching moments. This dedication and trust demonstrated by the great majority of the teams, it's something that I'm really proud today. Just a few interesting points. Just like home office, I believe that online trainings are the new normal. There is no way back. Maybe they are not so pleasant or comfortable like the presential trainings, but they can be efficient. They have a much bigger reach, and quality in general is not compromised. But they require structured skills organization, and they require a very serious certification process based on real cases. We use the coaching sessions also to coach the coaches. Sessions always had one lead auditor and a co-auditor, and gradually the co-auditors started to take the lead in a controlled way, again, to guarantee quality. We did not get it right in the first attempt, so you can imagine that the first sessions were not that great. Especially the webcasts, they require practice to record, and slides need to be simpler than we are used to. This has been a learning process for all of us. The main certainty is that although we achieved satisfactory results so far, there is still a lot to do and there is still a lot to improve. We can go one further, please. The next step of the process after basic training was the official kickoffs and the formal communications to all employees that TPM would start. Again, social distancing, borders closed, the restrictions all came into the way in a very important milestone of a TPM journey. Remember that also for local management of the selected lighthouses, the journey and the required activities was still unclear, and they would be the ones that had to deliver the message to the shop floor, to the people of their unit about the TPM kickoff. So in a very disciplined way, but not so formal as we did in the trainings, we started to pass to the local teams details of the journey. We started to put together the master plans and align messages for the town halls. We had the standard decks provided to all factories to guide them. We had the standard roles. Each one knew what part to play and when to play their part. But the practical challenges, of course, were still ahead of us. In these photos, you can see examples of one kickoff in the town hall, where mixed set of solutions were taken. People following from meeting rooms, from their workplace, a few people were following from home office, and operators were attending from the shop floor. At this point, flexibility was the name of the game. In a few sites, we did the kickoffs and the town halls in bigger warehouses with people sitting in very specific places. In others, this presence of the shop floor was really not possible. So always with zero compromise to local health and safety regulations, we managed to kick off 7 factories, and after those, we managed to kick off another 5. So if you move forward, please. Once we entered live in the TPM routines, we started to put in practice our plan to execute teams and pillar audits remotely. Objective was to be efficient in supporting the local teams, but also to give everyone a higher feeling of presence and closeness. The idea was to start to use HoloLens for this task. This would allow us to leave the virtual rooms and enter virtually to the shop floor. It would allow auditors to see the machines and the proposed improvements live. Really, I cannot describe my happiness to be able to enter virtually in the first factory that we used that after, I believe, 6 months of lockdown. It was really impressive. Augmented reality hardware is an affordable reality today, and open doors for multiple applications beyond just transmitting video through Teams. This so far had never been considered accessible. So this broke some paradigms that we had and allow us to have new tools to use. Of course, this use of virtual cameras and augmented reality requires practice. In the beginning, the level of curiosity of employees may be a bit distractive, and it may cause a few problems. But as always, people get used to the new normal, and suddenly everything becomes just routine. If we move one further, please. I will quote a good friend of mine and a partner in our implementation at this point. He once told me that the real big problem we face today with remote support is that all interactions are very formal. We set a time, we book a slot, we set an agenda, we make a connection, and then we hang up and disappear. So there is no time for informality. There are no small talks, no after dinner beer at the hotel. There are not long hours in the plane together, where normally you exchange impressions, off the record opinions, and you can really see your partners in their eyes. This is, in my mind, the biggest limit to soft communication, and then to change management as well. So if we take the old obstacles for TPM implementation, it became much more difficult to spot them. It is much more difficult to know what is really happening. And the level of impact is, of course, not the same. We can still reasonably say remotely if TPM strategy is not perfectly aligned with business strategy. But to smell doubts, to smell hesitation on management team, for example, becomes almost impossible. Unfortunately, this is not something that normally people will open up to you via a Teams call. This would be something you would sense from informal questions during a dinner, for example. To overcome these difficulties, we need new set of glasses to spot old threats. One example of tool that we can slightly adapt to gather and to collect these things is the program governance, for example. What we are doing in Huhtamaki today is nothing different in terms of structure, but we cannot afford inefficiencies, and we need to capture those messages and signals that we would normally only capture in informal relations. It has to be a fault-proof governance. It starts from accurate reporting from consultants from the floor. These reports, they need to be agreed in the local steering committees using standardized templates and processes. Often, TPM champions also attend these steering committees in order to avoid misinterpretation, misunderstandings. We are still setting the sensitivity level for escalations of roadblocks. Usually, these escalations should happen only through really exceptions, things that we never managed to solve locally. But in order to access also less critical points and give a precise picture of difficulties and solutions to the local managements, we are setting this level a little bit lower. It has always been essential in any implementation to create a safe environment so that even more sensitive issues would not be hidden. In the current situation where we cannot sense these issues anymore ourselves, this becomes even more important. We put in place systems that promote a two-way communication in a stronger manner, like chat rooms in Teams, for example. This is actually very successful. For each channel, we have owners responsible to keep the communication flowing. We make sure our message gets to the factory shop floor, but mostly important, we make sure that the reactions and feedbacks reach us back. Currently, we are trying to be one step ahead from these signals, and we are starting to co-create solutions with the lighthouses before implementation starts. It has been like this for the pillars implementation, for example. As we know, in TPM, the whats are pretty much known, but the hows differ in a significant manner, depending on local culture, depending on the backgrounds, depending on the circumstances. And the COVID lockdown and the difficulty to access factories impacted strongly many of the hows that we were used, and this cannot be ignored. If we move one slide further, please. What did we achieve in 15 months? Well, I think that we can be quite proud of the tangible and intangible results that we have seen in this past months. So we managed to kick off 12 lighthouses and 7 satellites. We have more than 80 Kaizen teams concluded, and half of them were virtually coached. This generated relevant additional cash savings and also significant additional capacity in many sites. We delivered 84 training sessions online, reaching more than 500 people. This is about the reach I told you that on presential trainings we wouldn't have. We had 152 coaching sessions for Kaizen teams, and this is also a really big effort. Not to mention all the intangible results of teamwork, empowerment. We had the TPM managers really excited by telling us, wow, we found out new leaders in the shop floor that we never knew we had. And this is what TPM is all about, is unleashing this capability in the shop floor that for many years became silent. Next, please. Yeah, I am sure that we are long way to go in our journey. I'm sure results will be great, but the journey can be difficult, especially considering how we started. TPM is a one-way journey. It's not easy, can be frustrating, takes us out of the comfort zone, requires resilience, and above all, trust. But it works. It changes the way we do business. It gives us the required edge in this competitive world we live, and is all about cultural change, cultural evolution. So with this, I pause for a minute and I open the floor to you for your questions, for your comments, for your reactions. let's use what we learned in this difficult year, and let's promote the two-way communication. I spoke too much already.
Thank you very much, André. Fascinating journey. We have a question that has also partly already been answered in the chat column, but I would like to start off with a personal question from my side to you, as being the steward of this ship here. Well, if we look back now, we stand here now in April 2021, and what you've just shown us here from the journey and the main events that you have performed during this time. But what is different now, in your own reflection, to what was, let's say, February, March 1 year ago? What has changed in your way of looking upon this way of tackling the issues that we saw coming when the pandemic struck and everything was locked down? What has changed for you personally in your perception of this?
Tobias, as I said, we literally had to learn how to implement TPM from scratch.
Yes.
It has really been tough to be up to this challenge, knowing that those 75% of traveling time that we normally have would go down to zero. And indeed, it went down to zero for over a year now. So I think that we have to count a lot on the creativity of the team and on the commitment of the team. Of course, if the different lighthouses didn't want to play the game, we would all have failed. So we create the conditions, we offer the tools, we make the proposals, but then also the other part needs to play. I think that the perfect alignment between TPM proposal and the business needs is something that created this trust, and it's something that created this alignment. So very often when we propose something to a lighthouse, instead of seeing us as an obstacle, they understand that they should seize this opportunity to help them to deliver their stretched targets that all of them have. So I don't think that I can name it as a change, but it's an enhancement of of how convinced I am that TPM is a game that can only be successful if played for all parts. Top management support is of paramount need, and if we are all on the same boat, we will find solution for the obstacles, wherever they are.
Fantastic. I will then turn to a question here from Stephen Wigglesworth, and it's a question about the training. You said that the quality in the training approach was not affected. Can you elaborate something on the measures here and how we can measure that in this, let's say, virtual delivery mode that we have on the training now? And I also want to stress to you that Anna-Karin has given a short comment also in the column here to that question. But please, André.
That's a good question, Steve. Thanks for that. And this is not a judgmental opinion on the quality of the question, but it's just connected to my personal preference of education and training. So I am absolutely passionate about this topic, and I'm really almost obsessed by making sure that the energy and efforts we spend in training are not wasted. So what we are trying to implement in Huhtamaki is a very serious process for updating the skill matrix and making sure that we have a precise and accurate mapping of how good and to what level people can perform a certain set of skills and knowledge. So in the beginning, we realized that in a few modules of the online training of the webcasts, we really didn't reach the expected level for the trainees. And this was very little fault of the trainees, and very much fault of how we adapted the presential trainings to the online version. So it took us a few failure rounds. In TPM, we cannot spend too much time over designing things. We need to have an idea, we have to try, and we have to interact, and through loops get to an acceptable level in the beginning, and then polishing this continuously ad infinitum. So through this interaction, we managed to correct, to simplify the training material, to find the right language on the webcast, to design the tests and the quizzes in a better way. We have a very strong internal team that is taking care of that. EFESO is supporting us greatly with a dedicated team to that as well. And I think that, as I said, we are learning together. We've been learning a lot, and the learning curve is still not even started.
Thank you for that. And spinning further on this, we have a question from Peter here, Peter Ridips. He would like you to, if you can elaborate a little bit more on, let's say, the issues that we saw and that we stumbled upon, that you have encountered on the journey when it comes to the remote implementation, let's say, of this program. You have already elaborated a little bit on it. I think the question is about, let's say, going a little bit deeper in the details, if possible, at this point, and see what were you talked about these loops of failure, and then up again and try again, which is also a core element of learning, by the way. Is there anything particular that you could share with the audience here and with Peter?
Listen, Peter, I think that the to go a little bit more in details on that, I think that this virtual journey increases a level of insecurity and increases level of anxiety for those who are far away, because we know that TPM happens on Gemba, and we know that access to Gemba is very difficult. So we need to get news, and we need to learn things, and we need to get updates through people that are there. We have to confront different versions probably of the same story. It's not common that the versions are different, but they are all right. So it's really a process of clarifying things and trying to be specific and trying to really get to the bottom of the story, really trying to create this confidence level with the local factories in order for them to tell you what are their problems, what are they feeling, what are the obstacles that they are seeing. Even if we have the governance process for that, things get lost on the way. So the way we are structured here, I believe it's a very smart way, because TPM is a central function, but in every segment we have the TPM champions. These guys, they are business people. They need that everything we do deliver result, and they create a very important bond and a very important link with the factories. Because even if I tell everyone that we are on the same boat and their success is my success, I don't have their specific EBIT targets, or I don't have their specific cost saving targets, which these guys from the segments have. So yes, we the virtual implementation gives us a little bit of anxiety and uncertainty, but again, this can only be fought back with method and trust, and that's what we are practicing.
And even further on this, there's a question here, follow-on question on the basically the aspect of digital applications and solutions, and and aspects then of this remote work or virtual work model. How are the shop floor operators dealing with this, in your opinion?
Yeah, so the first time we approached the team with someone wearing a HoloLenses, it was really a big circus, because we basically stopped the factory. Everybody wanted to know what that astronaut was doing in the factory.
Okay.
Right? So I think that there is no difference from anything new that we introduce. People get curious. People want to see what is it. A few people have more facility. A few people have more are more afraid of new things, of technology in this case. But besides this part of the virtual audits, I think that the life of the teams didn't change much, because great majority of the teams, great majority of the shop floor people continue to be audited by the TPM manager, who is local. Continue to be audited by local consultants that go to the factory, and never stop it going, because we were very fortunate to have local consultants in every place we had a TPM journey started. So for the local guys, I don't think that there has been a big systematic difference in terms of technology. We provided some fun when we have this astronaut getting into their teams and they talk with this machine. But I don't see a major impact. So sometimes they are audited also via Teams, but then they are always assisted by the local TPM manager. So I don't think that there has been a very strong technological disruption for the life of the operators with this pandemic.
Mm. And I will scroll a little bit among the questions here, and I will go to we have time for some more questions, if it's okay with you, André. And there's one here from Gabriel Mondragon. So you have now used the virtual training, and you have reached benefits in this first year of implementation. And what is now the evolution of that? What's happening as a next step? How do you keep up the momentum of this? What is the evolution of this that has started now with the virtual training?
With virtual training, we increase reach. So we absolutely we cannot say that training capability is an obstacle for us to move forward. Like in every TPM implementation, the real challenge right now is to reach that critical mass that will consolidate TPM as a relevant culture. So I just shared with you, we have around 80 Kaizen teams completed. Probably we need 800, right? So we need to speed up this. We need to speed up this rollout. We need to open doors for more and more people to join the boat. We need to communicate to people more effectively that TPM is great for the company, but it is in first place great for them personally. And with this creation of critical mass, not only the processes, not only the methods will get consolidated, but also the TPM culture will get consolidated, because this we are still on a very fragile phase. So TPM in the beginning is like a rubber wall. In order for the wall to move, you need to push. You need to push. You need to push. If you stop pushing, it comes back. So we are still on that step. We need to create critical mass. We need to involve more people. We need to involve more factories. We need to approach more losses. We need to expand the scope to other areas. in order to start creating solid points on this wall, and we reduce energy and things go a little bit downhill for a while.
Okay, I love the rubber wall. That's the way life is sometimes. I think we have time for one more live question here from the audience, and then we will start rounding off. But I promise you we will answer to the other questions as well in a written format or in some way. But I would like to stay on maybe here. If we take the question from Stephen, I know that maybe you don't have the numbers at the top of your head, but we talk about this being more efficient and effective, and you talk about a longer reach when it comes to virtual training. But what is, in your opinion, the cost reduction achieved from this approach? From if we talk about some kind of business case compared to the regular training, and also this distance Gamba coaching versus physical on-site Gamba, as we have been used to for the last 3 million years.
Listen, Tobias. Once we reach a decent, a good enough level of quality of the training material and the training structure, we can replicate that continuously, right? So there is the money and time invested to design that, to prepare it, but then we can continue to use that ad infinitum if you want. So if you consider that a traditional PKE training would take a week of full time of one person, I believe that with the virtual system that we put in place, we reduce this load considerably. I don't have a return of investment calculation done, but I can tell you it's worth investing time in the beginning. I am sure 100% I would not be able to train more than 500 people in a traditional manner. Of course, it's difficult to say that the quality is one-to-one, right? As I said, virtual training is not as comfortable or is not as pleasant as a presential training, and this is my opinion and a few feedbacks that I heard from a few of our guys. But I'm quite sure we can get used as well. So the new generations probably will never know what a presential training is.
Okay.
And then they cannot compare.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
We're coming towards the end here. So in order to close this on the right bow, I would like to ask you one final question, and a very important one. And that is, who is your favorite player from the Brazil 1982 team?
Oh dear. That's an easy one. Paul number 5 is the best one.
Yeah, there were quite some
unfortunately, Paolo Rossi proved him wrong. So it is a difficult chapter of the soccer history.
Quite some characters in that team, you know, with Socrates and all these guys. All right, with that, our time is up, and I would like to send a very warm thank you from all of us, André, that has been listening to you and taking part of your journey, and also to Carlo. And on behalf of EFESO, I would like to thank everybody for joining this. It will also be posted online. So, and I would like to thank everybody who was involved in this, preparing this, Jean-Paul, and not at least Nathalie. And there is a lot of work behind all this, as everybody knows. So, but first of all and foremost, thank you to you, André, for a very fascinating journey that continues into the fascinating.
I thank you. I thank everybody from EFESO for the partnership. I thank all the audience for the patience with me, and main and foremost, I thank our team in Huhtamaki that made this story possible. Without their effort and their commitment and their trust, this story wouldn't have started.
Fantastic. Thank you, everybody.
Obrigada, André.
Thank you very
Cheers.
much. Ciao.
Ciao.
Obrigada,
Ciao.
André.
Thank
Ciao.
you.
De
Super
nada.
interesting.
Ariadne.
Valeu.
Thank you.
Tchau.
Bye
Bye.
bye. Ciao. Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao.
Bye.